Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts and adjust your velvet capes, because today we remember a motorhome so outrageous it makes modern luxury RVs look like budget studio apartments. The 1974 Ford Camelot Cruiser motorhome was not simply a vehicle. It was a medieval fever dream bolted onto a commercial truck chassis, wrapped in shag carpet, and sent roaring down the interstate at a heroic 62 miles per hour. In an era of disco balls and political scandals, this rolling castle dared to ask a simple question. What if your vacation home had a differential ratio and could tow a horse? Welcome to Campoto, where we celebrate mechanical ambition and questionable interior design choices with equal enthusiasm. If you enjoy stories about machines that should not exist, but absolutely do, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, and prepare for a tale of velvet, V8 thunder, and unapologetic 1970s excess. The Camelot Cruiser was born in the United States in 1974, a time when the country was juggling an oil crisis, emissions regulations, and an identity crisis in fashion. While most manufacturers were trying to shrink engines and save fuel, a Chicago businessman named Richard Dick Edler decided the world needed the ultimate luxury motorhome. Not a practical RV, not a modest touring coach, a palace. Edler believed he had discovered the recipe for the perfect recreational vehicle. Spare no expense, indulge every hobby, and make sure the neighbors feel inadequate when you start the engine. Only 3 Camelot Cruisers were ever built. One for Edler himself and his family, reportedly accompanied by St. Bernards, who likely enjoyed more square footage than most apartment renters. The second was tailored for an owner interested in racing horses and boats. The third catered to winter sports. Each unit featured specialized storage compartments for its owner's chosen passion. Production numbers were microscopic, which means survival rates are even more dramatic. All 3 rigs still exist in various states of preservation, making them true artifacts of American automotive audacity. The first 2 were painted blue, while the third became famous as the green one. Subtle naming conventions were clearly not part of the medieval theme. Our focus is the second unit, proudly wearing Camelot Cruisers in lettering that looks like it was borrowed from a Renaissance fair banner. It vanished from public view for years until 2014-2015, when Richard Rawlings purchased it and its blue sibling from an Illinois scrapyard for $30,000 as a bundle deal. They appeared on the television show Gas Monkey Garage, briefly re-entering pop culture before fading again into private hands. In 2023, this second rig resurfaced at auction on Bring a Trailer and sold for $82,500. Still imposing, still extravagant, and still slightly overwhelming. Underneath the fantasy decor sat serious hardware. The Camelot Cruiser was built on a 1974 Ford C-750 truck, chassis paired with a 44-foot, 13.4-meter Gerstenslager trailer. Combined weight exceeded 40 tons, which makes its top speed of 62 miles per hour, 100 kilometers per h, sound like a medieval cavalry charge. Power came from a 391 cubic inch V8 engine, roughly 6.4 liters in modern terms, mated to an Allison at 545, 4-speed automatic transmission and a 4.10-to-1 differential. The engine was mounted up front in traditional truck fashion, sending power to the rear wheels with all the subtlety of a parade float. Suspension and braking were commercial grade, designed to haul serious mass. Dimensions were colossal. The trailer alone stretched 44 feet, meaning the full rig occupied more road than many urban apartments occupy ground. Width was approximately 8 feet, 2.44 meters, and interior headroom allowed full standing height in the upper living quarters. Fuel consumption figures were never advertised. With pride, moving over 40 tons with a big block V8 is less about economy and more about commitment. Yet for its era, the drivetrain was robust, durable, and entirely appropriate for a machine task, with hauling horses, motorcycles, boats, and a medieval throne room simultaneously. The engineering solutions were ambitious. An intercom system connected the driver with passengers throughout the trailer, a practical necessity when your dining lounge resembles a royal banquet hall. Air conditioning kept the Velvet from turning into a sauna. Massive storage bays under the living quarters allowed the transport of a horse or a pair of Harley-Davidsons in a rear garage beneath what Edler called the Great Hall. In the belly compartments, accessible through multiple side hatches, there was even a Camelot branded boat, because if you are going to build a palace on wheels, might as well give it a moat. If the chassis was industrial America in steel-toe boots, the upper deck was pure theatrical ambition. The design philosophy of the 1974 Ford Camelot Cruiser motorhome was simple. Why settle for a biche living room when you can have a royal observatory lounge? Step inside and you were greeted by wraparound yellow leather seating, hardwood tables, carved columns, elaborate light fixtures, and shag carpeting so thick it had its own zip code. The medieval night theme was not subtle. Lions and seahorses decorated hardware, velvet tapestries covered walls, and even the bathroom, officially the King and Queen's privy, featured dual vanities, tiled walls, a concrete shower with a velvet curtain, and a telephone within reach of the toilet, because nothing says royalty like taking calls from your broker while brushing crushed velvet with your elbow. At the rear sat the Great Hall, doubling as bedroom and lounge, with opposing sofas and a full bed. Forward was a pass-through main bedroom with a rock accent wall and ornate metalwork. The gourmet galley offered a residential-style kitchen impressive even today, complete with original gas cooktop, sink, wood cabinetry, and dramatic columns that made cooking pasta feel like a state ceremony. Intercom system linked every room to the driver's cabin, which is practical when your motorhome is longer than some bowling lanes. The vibe was unapologetic excess, less weekend camping, and more Sir Lancelot discovers interstate travel. Jeff, a later owner, tackled restoration with courage bordering on heroism. He added an air conditioning unit, replaced ceiling tiles, installed a 150-gallon, 568-litre grey and black water tank, alongside the existing 300-gallon, 1,136-litre stainless freshwater tank, updated plumbing, fitted an on-demand water heater, integrated a 5,000-watt inverter, and wired 3 stacks of 6-volt batteries. Most dramatically, he removed the royal blue shag carpeting that once covered floors and even parts of the walls, revealing gorgeous hardwood beneath. Timmy once saw photos of that carpet and said, "I could live in that," which explains at least 2 of his divorces. Bob, meanwhile, insisted the intercom system was clearly designed for government surveillance, and possibly aliens. His impressive paranoia for a bald man with prescription glasses. Compared with conventional 1970s motorhomes, the Camelot Cruiser was an entirely different species. Standard-class rigs of the era aimed for comfort within reasonable proportions. This machine aimed for legend status. Its 44-foot, 13.4-meter trailer and 40-plus-ton combined mass made it a highway monarch. At 62 miles per hour, 100 kilometers per h, flat out, it was not racing anyone, but it was arriving in style. Most RV manufacturers sought efficiency during the fuel crisis. Edler sought immortality. The result feels closer to a bespoke yacht mounted on wheels than a campground cruiser. Today's luxury coaches offer slide-outs and digital dashboards. The Camelot offered medieval pageantry and hardwood craftsmanship that modern production lines rarely replicate. Now, before we speak of money, we must give the Camelot Cruiser its due respect. It represents a moment when RV construction leaned toward artistry rather than quarterly profit reports. 3 units built, all surviving, each tailored to a specific passion: horses, boats, winter sports. It hauled Harleys, livestock, and dreams. It survived scrapyards, television fame, neglect, restoration attempts, and the harsh judgment of interior designers everywhere. It is excessive, impractical, and completely unforgettable. Politicians promise palaces and deliver paperwork. Dick Edler promised Camelot and delivered 44 feet of it. In 1974, commissioning one of these masterpieces required about $150,000, an astronomical figure at the time, equivalent to roughly $900,000 to $1 million today. That placed it firmly in the realm of wealthy enthusiasts with both hobbies and ambition. In 2014-2015, 2 units were acquired together for $30,000 from a scrapyard. In 2023, the second unit resurfaced on Bring a Trailer and sold for $82,500. Considering its rarity and spectacle value, that number feels almost restrained, like buying a castle at the price of a suburban home renovation.